Okay, so this is the first part of the notes for solving rational equations. There are two methods for solving these types of equations. One is getting common denominators to work with, and the other is proportions. So we're going to focus on proportions today because that's when you only have two fractions equal to each other, and it's a little bit easier to solve. The other thing you need to do is make sure that you check your restrictions. So we're going to start with that. You take each denominator and you set it equal to 0 and you solve. And if the answer comes out 3, that would make this denominator 0 and that would make the whole function undefined. So we don't want it to be 3. And then over here, you set this denominator equal to 0, and by adding 27 and taking the square root, I find out it's plus or minus whatever number this is because I took a square root on an even function. And if I tree it, 9 times 3 makes 27, makes it plus or minus 3 square roots of 3 is the other two numbers it can't be. So we have 3 numbers that it cannot be. Now to solve a proportion, you want to cross multiply. And I'm going to cross multiply the diagonal that has more information on it first. So I'm going to multiply x minus 3 times x minus 4 on one diagonal. And on the other diagonal, I'm just multiplying negative 1 times the binomial. So that gets rid of the denominators by doing the cross multiply method, but it's not cross multiplying quite divide like it used to be. So first it's cross multiply and multiply it all out. So what you got? So x squared, the outer's negative 4x, the inner's negative 3x, and the last is 12 if you fill those two parentheses together. If you distribute a negative, you get negative x squared plus 27. Now, if I move my x squares to one side, they're not going to drop out, so I want to move everything to one side. So I'm going to add x squared to both sides, and I'm going to take 27 away from both sides. That'll make this side 0, and whatever this side comes out to be, I'm probably going to have to factor. So now I have 2x squared. I put my linear terms together, and I have negative 7x. And then I add my constants together and get negative 15. So now I've got to figure out how does that come out to be any kind of answer that I can work with. Well, first, 2 times 15 make negative 30. That's 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 4 and 6. For it to add up to a negative 7, the second would have to be negative, and I found my pair right there. So now I go and I do that 10-step process that I'm working on here to finish it out with grouping. So I need to take out a 2x, and that leaves me with x minus 5. I need to take out a positive 3, and that leaves me with x minus 5. So x minus 5 is one of my factors, and 2x plus 3 is the other one. And you set that equal to 0. So if you add 5, that would make this answer 5. And if you take the 2x plus 3 and take away 3 and divide by 2, you get negative 2/3. Then you go over here and compare it. If the problem come out 3, or plus or minus 3 square roots of 3, we wouldn't have solutions. Neither number I got is that. So 5 and negative 3/2 are the solutions. So our next problem, we kind of want to do the same thing. And I always cross multiply the diagonal that has a square on it, or, first because I see it. So I'm going to do 2 times x squared minus 8. And then I do the other diagonal since I don't see any squares. X times x comes out to be 1. So if I distribute this, this is 2x squared minus 8. And if I realize that bringing my x squared over might be a good thing because that will put all my squares on one side. And I made a math error here. Hold on. I did the mistake that a lot of you make. I forgot to distribute my 2 to both of them. So once you get it equal to 0, then some kind of factoring has to go on, and this one's one of those foo lines where it's x plus 4, x minus 4. Now let me go back to pick up my restrictions before I finish that. So over here, x cannot be equal to 0. And over here, x squared minus 8 cannot be equal to 0, so x squared cannot be equal to 8, and x cannot be equal to plus or minus. That square roots into a tree of 2 square roots of 2. And if you don't know how to get that, then you may need to ask some questions about that. But the answers down here come out to be positive and negative 4 when I solve. Well, it would help if I could write that a little bit better. Positive and negative 4. So therefore, my restrictions are not going to make me have to cancel out any of my answers here. These are perfectly good answers. So my next one, I'm going to cross multiply, and I think I'll multiply this direction first. 8, x minus 1, x plus, minus 2, because that seems like a longer direction to do. And then do 4 times x squared minus 4. Doesn't matter really which diagonal you do first, so it's totally up to you. So I need to first FOIL these two together and get x squared minus 3x plus 2, because when I FOIL, I put the outer and the inner together. You may need to write it all down. Then 4x squared minus 16 is what you get from distributing that side. If I distribute this side, I'll get 8x squared minus 24x plus 16. So then I'm going to bring it all to one side. So I'm going to take 4x squared away and add 16. Take 4x squared away and add 16. That gives me 4x squared minus 24x plus 32 equals 0. Because the 4 minus 4 is 0, and 16 and negative 16 make 0. I need to take a 4 out because I need to take out the GCF so I can factor this. Now, in looking at my problem, x times x makes x squared, and 4 and 2 make 8, and if they're both negative, they make positive 8, but add up to negative 6. So my answer is 4 and 2. But are those good solutions? So let's go back and find our restrictions. So first I have x squared minus 4 equals 0. So x squared equals 4, and x cannot be plus or minus 2. When you square root it, you got to put that plus or minus on there. And I've already got the solution for this one is 2. So it can't be positive or negative 2. But when I come down here and look at my solutions, I got a 2, so I throw it away. And the only answer to this problem is 4, because 2 is one of the numbers it could not be, because it makes the denominator 0. So in this one, if I turn this around, I'd have to take a negative out. And instead of putting it in front of this parentheses, I'm going to put it on the top. I just think it'd be easier to distribute that with that top. And now I can see both denominators are the same, so x cannot be equal to 4. Now, you didn't have to do that. I could have cross-multiplied without doing that. I could have checked the restrictions without doing it. I did it because we still need practice with that. So now we're going to multiply this direction, but we're going to multiply it times the blue writing. So that's going to be x squared times x minus 4, which comes out x cubed minus 4x squared. Over here, I'm going to multiply it this way by saying negative 2x times x minus 4, and that's going to come out negative 2x squared plus 8x. So now I realize I need to bring it all to one side because I have powers. So I'm going to add 2x squared, and I'm going to take away 8x. So that gives me x cubed minus 2x squared minus 8x equals 0. Now I need to do some factoring to find the solutions. So first I'm going to take an x out, because that's the GCF. Then I'm going to try to make it into 2 parentheses. Now we've already found out our answer can't be 4, so let's see if that's a problem as we get our solutions. So I think it's negative 4 and positive 2 multiply to be negative 8, but add up to 2. So my x's can't be 0. My x's solutions are 0, 4, and negative 2. But according to this, it can't be 4, so I throw that one away, and it's just 0 and negative 2. So that's the end of part 1 on our lesson for solving. So now you need to go to Canvas and open up homework 0.4 and do the first set. I think there's 6 or 8 questions in the first set for you to complete.